Trump says he intends to sue CNN for defamation. Now, how much is this just Trump blowing smoke, or is he really going to do it?
It's impossible to sue people. It's
It is. It really is.
Did you see?
People
I think
don't get it.
Was it Clarence Thomas? Did he say that there's a potential case coming in front of the court that will change and actually loosen the standards by which you can actually do these sorts of things? Yep. I think that would be a very healthy step in the right direction.
So here's what Trump said. He said, I have notified CNN of my intent to file a lawsuit over their repeated defamatory statements against me. I will also be commencing actions against other media outlets who have defamed me and defrauded the public regarding the overwhelming evidence of fraud throughout the 2020 election. I will never stop fighting for the truth and for the future of our country. Now, that'll be interesting, and I don't think Trump will get anywhere with suing them over fraud stuff. First and foremost, I think Trump thoroughly misunderstands a lot of the 2020 election stuff. I think what we saw with Sidney Powell and Lynn Wood really exemplifies that. Trump was given a lot of bad info. I think he's wrong in that regard.
He was, but I think he could have focused on the good friend Molly Hemingway wrote a book, Rigged. I think there are definitely serious questions about 2020, but I think you were right. I mean, Sidney, Lynn, all these,
and that's
the Kraken.
Right.
Crazy stuff.
That threw everything into chaos, and I have to wonder if those people were intentionally working against Trump.
I feel like Lynn Wood was.
Well, because I'll tell you, I want to talk about the lawsuits of the media, so I don't want to get into, but I will mention, Pennsylvania changing the rules on voting was ruled unconstitutional after the fact.
But did you see what Wisconsin State Supreme Court just said recently?
What did they say?
They said that the unsecured ballot drop boxes were illegal.
Oh, right.
It might have called into question the election. There's a lot of stuff that's weird about it.
This is the problem with Trump and the fraud narrative, is that it's procedural. It's procedural questions on policy and law that need to be rectified and don't if that keeps becoming the narrative, because it's universal mail-in voting rules, the question of the constitutionality of universal mail-in voting,
right?
Election month versus election day, unmanned drop boxes. So I don't want to get into all
we
of
don't
that.
want to go down that.
I want to talk
focus
about
on
the
this.
media lying about January 6th and all of that stuff. Certainly Trump has his opinion on all those things. I got to say, though, if he's suing on those grounds, dismissed instantly.
Yeah.
Because for one, the courts are going to be entirely biased against hearing any of this stuff. But if he's talking about January 6th, then I think he might actually win. Like what we're seeing now with the media saying, I'm not saying win in every single instance. I know Lauren gave a look of doubt.
I don't think people win, especially when you're a public figure like Trump, even starting these defamation lawsuits. I mean, he'd have the money to do it, I guess, so he'd be able to start, but it's so difficult to win a defamation lawsuit, especially when you have other media writing the same thing about you. Any media company will use that as a defense. They'll say everyone else is writing the same thing, so we just wrote it.
But maybe it's not even about that. I mean, maybe it's just about bringing this to the forefront again to have a conversation about all of these things.
Here's what will happen. One news outlet, let's call it News Outlet A, will write something false about Lauren. Mm-hmm. News Outlet B will pick it up.
Right.
News Outlet C will pick it up. News Outlet A will retract and apologize. And now you have two outlets citing each other. And if you sue one of those, they'll say it's reported as fact by News Outlet C. You sue them, they'll say it's reported as fact by News Outlet B. And then even if it is wrong, they'll say all we are doing is conveying what another news outlet already said, which we believe to be true. There's no malice, and we're allowed to say it.
And no one ever sees the correction. It's always published on a different page months later, but it still counts. It's still good enough. You don't have to. That's what's crazy to me is there's like no legal recourse for if an article about you goes completely viral. There's no expectation that the apology afterwards that will prevent any sort of legal financial recouping will be as viral.
Right.
And there's no expectation. One person could see the correction and that's still, okay, we're not legally culpable now. That's nuts.
There's pros and there's cons. The idea is that it's difficult to sue anyone in the public space, but the problem then is the media, the corporate press lies about basically everything. So I was thinking about this earlier. In order to sue, you need standing and injury, which is insane. How do you prove injury? Are you going to go find the guy who wrote you the donor check, who canceled it, and then have him testify that I wrote the donor check, and as soon as I saw that defamation, I tore it up. So proving that is insane. I think we should be allowed to sue for correction. That's it. For correction. So you go to a court and you say, I can definitively prove the spirit of what they're saying. Their statements are untrue. And then maybe they got to pay legal fees if they lose for publishing something false. And that's fair. And then it's like, then they got to issue an apology, a statement. They got to publish it on the front page and leave it up there for like a week or something for everyone to see. it's remarkable to me that you can have a major news organization lie.
Yeah.
And so I've been through this. I've talked to lawyers and they're like, what are your damages? And then I was like, well, obviously they're trying to get me banned, shadow banned, reduce wages and things like that, or income. And they're like, can you prove it? It's like, unless we file a subpoena and discovery against YouTube to ask them if they're, and YouTube does this. In response to smears, YouTube has deranked and shadow banned many people, hurting their businesses. How do you prove that to a court? At the very least, I should be able to sue and say, Your Honor, I can prove what they said is false. I would like them to be ordered to issue a correction. That's it.